Welcome to The Vault with Financial. This is a safe space where we talk all things life and money and no topics are off limits. Right. I feel like I'm going to trigger you with this controversial opinion, so I'm going to get straight into it.
I like it. I've got my tea ready.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here
Spill
for
the
it.
tea.
Spill, oh yeah.
You're not entitled to someone else's pension after divorce.
Oh, this is
Wow.
You knew.
Wow.
This is so controversial.
And very relevant for a lot of our
You
friends right
are
now.
not entitled to someone else. Your husband's or
Yes.
wife's, yeah, after divorce. Well, as part of the divorce
Yeah.
to take it away. People are so protective of their pensions. And I'm going to say it, men are protective of their pensions. And we have seen, and I want to look at more stats on this actually, because when no-fault divorce came in fairly recently, the past few years, there was a massive increase in the number of divorces. So I think there's probably loads of stats around we know, I think it's like 1 in 2 marriages end in divorce.
Yeah.
I think I do know that stat, but there's other stats around like a wave of like divorces in 50s and 60s. So previous generations, it was no, till death do us part, like you've made your vows, no matter what he or she does or acts or says. For years, you couldn't just have this no-fault divorce, and they brought it in. And it was where you didn't have to blame someone, and there wasn't a party that was at fault, and there was an increase. Can you imagine people finally didn't have to say, you've done something, so I want a divorce. It's actually, this isn't working out and I don't want to be with you anymore. It's amicable. We don't want to be together anymore. So there was this increase. And more people, I think, are having the confidence to go, no, I'm not standing for this. I can thrive in my older age. I don't need to be with you. I actually would prefer time on my own than not. So I think this was a big thing. But the generation that are going through this, so the people in their 50s and younger, have had, they're the lower earner typically. The female has put her career on pause. She has taken on part-time jobs. She's taken on lower salaried jobs so that she can be flexible. And this isn't us like stereotyping. Pension Bee have done a really good report on where the gender pension gap comes from. And it stems from basically maternity.
Yeah, the minute that someone gets pregnant, it starts.
That's where it starts. And so this is an absolute fact. So what happens is when you then come to a situation where people get divorced, in the UK, what tends to happen is you start with a 50-50 split of all assets, and then there's different conversations and different assessments done, and it's very complicated. And some of you listening to this now are going through this. I know so many of you that are racking up tens of thousands of pounds in legal fees when it's fairly reasonable. It's not like
straightforward
court.
divorce. Yeah,
it's just let's kind of do all the different work that's involved, and you might not be agreeing, but you're being agreeable and amicable. You're just not agreeing on the numbers. When you don't agree, that's a whole nother level of costs and fees. And it's so difficult. So the court and or the negotiator, the mediator and or the lawyers will look at different factors. So they'll look at things like, okay, what's the earning potential of both parties? Because if one party has had a situation where they have a career that will not earn as much, and it's not because they're not as clever or not as good or not as hardworking.
Ambitious or
no, it's because it's a product of where they are society and where they've been in their career. The everyone will look to that and go, actually, should let's say typically the wife in this scenario take a bigger share of the assets because she has sacrificed and is behind, and the male, if we're talking about a male, has this high propensity to earn and build up pension contributions and savings and stuff, buy a house. So there's all these different factors. Who's looking after children? Who has extra costs? I find it. So then when the pension thing, it's really interesting because all during your family life, you just automatically pay a proportion of your income into a pension. So the man's been paying more into his pension because he's typically been earning more. And the woman has been paying her percentage into the pension or not.
Yeah.
Like often,
so many people we speak to do not have a pension that are female. If they're so many women go
part-time
self-employed.
workers, auto-enrollment hasn't been around a long time. So there's lots of reasons why these women that are in their 40s and 50s did not contribute to their pension as much or at all. And it's like, oh no, but it's fine because we'll share it. If anything ever happened, we'd split it. Suddenly, people get really fucking possessive of their pension and go, you're not touching my pension.
Yeah.
And that's
my
the trigger.
pension.
Suddenly it becomes mine. For years, it's been, oh, don't worry, like we split it. And then it's suddenly mine.
Yeah, because I know loads of women as well. We talk about the motherhood penalty and that's kind of the trigger for it. But then in later life, they're now the sandwich generation where parents are living longer. Women are then leaving work earlier to care for elderly relatives. Mm-hmm. So the career timeline is so squeezed. And even then it's not
it's
consistent.
Capped. It's like you're
not in the
capping.
workplace, so
No.
you're not going to get the promotion because you work. There's some people who work part-time get promotions. That's not a thing anymore.
You can be overlooked though, or
Yeah, yeah.
like you're limiting your earning potential because you can't put the hours in because you are being this like double carer. And so I find it a lot of times when it's like a good pension. Now this is quite I think a working class attitude to it, which is like police, NHS, council.
Near us, it's the BNFL is like a big thing, isn't it? Where you get a really good pension.
Yeah, and that was a bit that's half public sector, half private. But where there's a good pension, typically. I think it's massive in the police. Actually, we've seen it in our own family where this conversation has been had, and it's like that's mine, and I think they all talk about it. And I'd love actually feedback from people who are in the police force, and you're this kind of person, or in the NHS, or if you're the person in a relationship that's got a stronger pension, what are your views on this? Because this is just our perspective and our interpretation of it. But it's like possessive. It's like, no, that's mine. If it's a good one, you're not touching it. And there's a complete lack of empathy for what's happened in the years and years and years. And so in the long rant that I've just gone through, and I hope that I've helped to bring to life what the reality is for someone. When it comes to divorce, it's then you're not touching my pension.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go after my pension. She's going after his pension. And I just feel like it's not an accurate representation of what's happened in the decades before.
You're just thinking in that moment in time that what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. And that person doesn't have very much because, like Laura said, you were in agreement that you would carry on with the career and I will take care of the family.
Yeah.
You've seen so many people come to you asking questions, and we've seen in DMs and, personal stories that we've had from people whereby the female wants to go for the house. Because they feel like they've poured the heart and soul into the interiors, and that's where they've stayed every day looking after the children, and that it's like their place, a bit of comfort, and they see it as a massive asset in the family, so they're happy to take on the home.
We saw this in so loads of people share this with us, and then a divorce lawyer confirmed it, that one of her and a financial advisor we were chatting to, that we were talking about this scenario where often women will go to a financial advisor in anticipation of a divorce, like they kind of need to sort their pensions out because there's sometimes pension sharing orders, or speak to the divorce lawyer. And this divorce lawyer was saying it breaks the heart that like so many women, especially if they're not the instigator of the divorce as well, so they've had this trauma put upon them. I don't want to be with anymore.
A lot of affairs.
I'm
going to put it out there. A lot of people we're talking about have gone on to have affairs, and then the male has gone on to have the affair, and the woman's left. Like
grieving, one, for her relationship. Like she's just had her relationship end. She's thinking of children no matter what age they are. And this was her life. And like you look to retirement as this time that we'll share it together. And like this is the home that we built together, and this is the life we'll have. And it's snatched from you. And so but suddenly you're in fighting mode because you're trying to work out what should be happening. And often, and this divorce lawyer said, women will want the house because it's the stability and the continuity, and it's the one last thing. It's the thing that will...
It's likely they'll be looking after the children as well. They have to accommodate the children.
And so they'll have to have the property that resonates with that. And often by fighting to keep a house, which probably was meant for two people to support, they stretch themselves, and they might need to get mortgages and stuff like that. And they'll forego the pension pot. And so the pension pot is really, really key for investments and to making sure that you can sustain yourself in retirement. And so it is an interesting one. Like, again, this is when I want people's feedback on. I want DMs on this. What did your parents go through this? Are you going through this? Is it something that you worry about? Because I've always said for pensions, when relationships are absolutely sweet, the more money, the better. It's not more money, more problems. Like maybe if you're uber rich, I'm sure Jeff Bezos had a bit of a stress in his divorce where he's trying to like hold on to as much as possible. But when more money is not more problems, actually less money is stressful because you're both thinking, can we afford a house each?
Yeah.
Can I afford to live? Can I afford to support myself? If the couple has a bigger pot that's a reasonable pot, then there's less animosity about, can I afford to pay a mortgage? Can I afford to pay bills? Can I afford to sustain myself? It's frustrating, but I feel like you've not got this lack mentality.
Yeah, it's a fact.
That's just my view. I'm definitely it's more that there's been so many people recently talking to us about
very
this.
prevalent in the
What
community.
do you think?
Well, as a divorcee child, I think, I don't know, it's hard because it is like what's the word? Is circumstantial a word?
Yeah.
Like, it is hard when you don't know like what's going on in the relationship and like why the relationship is broken down and like who is the breadwinner, like what if the instigator of the like breakup was
the breadwinner?
No, not
the other
the
way
way
around.
around.
How do you even go there?
Yeah, it's not always the breadwinner and the person that's had an affair that wants to end a marriage.
I think the big thing for me is it won't feel fair to either party usually. So the division of assets, even if we're just on that, like the division of assets,
there's got to be compromise.
Won't feel fair. There's no winners. It's like if people go to court for whether it's divorce law or whether it's commercial law, there's never a winner.
Yeah,
you both feel annoyed. You both feel hard done by, but the person that's protective of the pension, for example, I would love it if people just had a wider view on why that is. And by the way, people rock up tens of thousands of pounds in legal fees protecting a pension.
I was just about to say,
like, and if
the amount of
the
legal
net
fees
effect is you should have just shared it.
You've all lost out. Like,
yeah,
can we all not pay divorce lawyers? I'm sure we've got some that listen to us. Like, love it that it doesn't get resolved because they could bill more hours. Like, so
it's an area of law that I don't know. I know a couple of divorce lawyers, but first I think, God, they must need therapy.
Oh God, help!
You know, because it's all so entrenched in like personal circumstance
there's some amazing divorce lawyers out there. You just have to find the right one.
And tens of thousands of pounds is being built up in animosity to have a financial settlement.
Money.
Yeah, so this money is coming off the pot total.
You're eating away at the pot.
Yeah. Okay, time for our first dilemma of the day. Is my emergency fund just wasting away? Dear Financial, I'm 28, a trainee chartered accountant, and I'm truly stuck. I'm worried I'm not using my money to the best of my ability. I've got a 3-month emergency fund and almost 12k in a stocks and shares ISA. I'm worried my emergency fund is losing me money. My interest rate is 3.75, and with £6,000 sitting in there, I feel like it's such a waste. Here's where my dilemma comes in. Do I use that money to invest in my stocks and shares ISA and then take it out if it's needed? Or do I leave it in my savings account with the low interest rate? I've looked around a bit and feel like I could be utilising these funds so much better by investing them, but I truly don't know what to do. The accountant in me is saying it's smart that it's smart to have easily and readily available cash, but the other side of me knows how hard I've worked to get myself into this position, and it hurts to think my savings are essentially losing money with the way inflation is. Please help.
Good dilemma.
Tell me you're an accountant.
I know, yeah. Jeez. Our other friends are like, I don't know, dressing up as mermaids and living the best life. And
the interest rate's stressing her out.
Yeah.
And it's the right question to be asking. And I have thought this about myself as well before, where if you are lucky enough to have built up your large emergency fund and then have your disposable income or extra cash to be able to invest into accessible accounts like stocks and shares ISA, so it's not going to pension. There's always that debate about returns. And, what history tells us is that a stocks and shares ISA, when invested in the right things and whole of market kind of funds and stuff, seems to perform more than the cash interest rates that you get. None of all of this is depending on the timing of things and depending on the funds that it's put in, and it's why no one will advise on either. I think you generally see if you like saving for a house, there's a reason we don't say put it in a stocks and shares ISA, because usually the time frame that you would want to access that cash in is less than 5 years. And the risk of it going down as well as up is very, very prevalent. And so
because you need a deposit amount.
You have to have it. You're not going to buy the house without it. And so people are willing to forego the possible extra returns that you can get by investing the money
for the security
of knowing it won't go down and it should make something. And listen, the still rates are better now than they've been for years. Like, we used to put things in a cash ISA, it'd be like 0.4 or 0.04. And it was basically losing money to inflation. Inflation was quite low. But it's always been around like 1 to 2% marker. So we've just got this reality of that just doesn't make money. And so I think the way I reason with it myself is it's safety money. Mm-hmm. And so when because she likes maths, so if she does because what was the amount of the emergency fund? Was it 6?
3-month emergency fund, she just says 3 months. Oh, yeah, £6,000 sitting in there.
So I think she could do 2 assessments and put this in an Excel spreadsheet, and you can put it into an investment calculator at home as well if you want. And And let's pretend that 6 stays there and she doesn't have to access it for an emergency because she's kind of really good with money. She builds up extra cash every month. She can handle emergencies. Let's pretend she doesn't use it and do like a 10-year outlook on the fixed interest rate that she's got now, and then do it the same as if it was making a prudent amount in the stock market. So like, what is it making? 5, 6, 7% versus a 3. And over a 10-year period, yes, she'll make more, but not game-changing amounts because she's not adding to this emergency fund. This is the point that where compounding comes in, is if like you're regularly contributing and then the interest rate and then the return, is in a good place, and then time, and that's the calculation for compound interest. Whereas she's not adding to this emergency fund; it's staying at 6, it's flat. So I think what she'll see is, so it's and it's there because she's capped it out. So I think what she'll find is there's not a huge difference. But the peace of mind that you get of knowing that it's hopefully covering inflation, it's just staying the same, means that's not your growth asset.
That's kind of what I like, a similar situation in that we've got an emergency fund sat there, but then we're at a place with financial.
The language you're using, it's sat there.
It's sat there. So I know that it's there because I ring fenced it in my brain, and this is how you feel, not about the numbers, which we talk about with mortgage overpayments and the advice that you might get from other people. And we're like, just do what makes you feel good. For one person, it might be they've got the spreadsheet and they want to hack and they want to beat, and that's their personality. I don't have that personality. I don't. And neither does my husband. We're quite happy with our emergency fund in a place that we can access it. It might not be making loads of money, but it's in a safe space and it gives us peace of mind and we can sleep at night. Whereas now we're at a place with financial whereby with our excess cash, we can put into making investments and having compound interest, and we see that as our growth lever, whereas the other one is a safety one. It's a safety net. It's a foundation. It's called an emergency fund for a reason. So I think it is on how you feel, and like I like we always say model stuff out, and I always forget that. Model it out, look at it, make a decision.
Show me the numbers and then how you feel.
If it makes you go, oh, I'm losing because she's got in a lack mindset. I'm not in a lack mindset. You're very much in one. If you don't want to be in one, you can model it out and change that.
And one thing that you can do is, as she puts more and more into the stocks and shares ISA, and as it gets bigger, that is still accessible cash, right? So especially if it's with the right account, with the right provider, it's accessible. You can get at it. It's not like locked away. Whilst it is volatile, it's, and I can never promise that your investments won't go to zero, but typically they don't. And so it's accessible. So the more you have, the less needy you are on having the exact amount you started with. So say that stocks and shares ISA pot goes to 20K or even goes to 30K. On that basis, you might even be okay with putting more of your emergency fund in it, because
drop that down,
and having like $2,000 in a cash ISA, because you can get at it. Because if you're willing to take the drops as well as the increases, your pot of accessible cash is higher. You've not got it all locked away in a pension. You've not got it locked away in a house. It's accessible. And again, to go back to Holly said, this is all about how you feel. You have to sit and model out the different scenarios and go, if I moved all this to stock shares ISA and we saw a big market drop, how does that make me feel? Because it makes you feel worse than the lower return that you get on cash. That gives you your answer that you should probably keep it somewhere that you feel more comfortable. If actually you're going, no, actually, that margin of like loss, I could take that because I'd rather see the bigger ones. You're not going to end up with no money for an emergency. And that's where it comes back to. It's your emergency fund. You need it to help you in case of emergency. So have a play around with the scenarios. I think what you'll come out thinking, given your language, is you'll keep the cash where it is. And you'll get comfortable with it not making loads because you're adding money into the other account, which is a more of a growth strategy, isn't it? But fascinating that
I think she'll end up reducing that emergency fund.
Do you?
I think she's got a risk for appetite. I feel like she's got a risk for appetite, and not everyone has. But because she said she's got this mindset of I'm losing out, I'm itching. She's desperate to do something. So it's like, model it out. Reduce your emergency fund by half to make it a 3. Put the 3 in and see it grow. Like, you might want to do that. I'm really intrigued. I'd love to see.
Please tell us what you do, because we both think you'll do different things, but it's you'll follow the same method. How does it make you feel? What's your risk appetite? What do the numbers make you feel? And then tell us what you do.
Someone else might be like, no, I could never reduce my emergency fund. Like, that means so much to me. And that's the beauty of financial. Like, everyone is so different. We're all on a different path. If you're a single person, like an emergency fund, I always think, oh, we need to hire one of the other people because there's two of us, which means we probably spend more. Or arguably someone that's single and on their own needs a higher emergency fund because it's just them. I can look to Neil and go, I need you to.
On the job type that you have, it changes with your costs. Like, what Nobody bills else. Are you committed to that you can't get out of? That if you needed that emergency money, where would you get it from? Yeah.
Fascinating.
It is. Okay, I've got a community one that you are going to love. After listening to the episode about life insurance, I decided the term life insurance we'd got wasn't good. It covers me and my partner for $250,000 each. Enough to pay off our mortgage, pay for a funeral, and enough so that the person left won't have to worry about paying bills for at least 2 years. Because the thought of going back to a crappy office job after a week that they'll give me to grieve might just tip me over the edge.
Love this, because do you know what? So many people, and I think we've talked about in an episode recently where I was going to go and re-look at mine and I haven't, so this is a good tip. Laura and I had a life insurance policy for us and our partners years ago. Realised it just covered, when we learnt more about life insurance, just covered the mortgage. And someone kind of prompted us on it and said, okay, that's fine, you covered your mortgage. Like, what's about
your plan?
Your food bills? Your energy bills. Like, I think it was when energy was going crazy and we were talking about it the other day, weren't we? It was like a scaremongering, like, oh my God, like people are not going to have heating in their homes for years. It's too expensive. Childcare, medical bills, like anything. People just cover the mortgage. Like when you go to a mortgage advisor to ask to get a mortgage, they will tell you that you need to get life insurance. Should anything happen, you need to be able to cover the mortgage. What about all the other stuff? Life is so expensive. We keep seeing people in the community write about food bills and the stress that people have in paying for those. Imagine being a single parent, going from a couple, going to a single family household where you're the breadwinner and there's nobody else, paying for the Aldi shop, the Asda shop, the fuel in your car,
when
car
you're just
insurance.
going through the worst time of your life.
Jesus.
Like,
you have to look at the policy. Ring your insurer and find out you covered for, like, what does your life insurance policy cover?
Yeah, some people have reducing terms as well. So like it decreases in line with you paying off your mortgage. And so as your mortgage is going down, then you don't need as much because your mortgage is going down. So you don't need as much to be paid off.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And I mean, listen, I had another review more recently because there was a couple of things that we just weren't really covered for. And whilst we're really, really healthy, it's the peace of mind payment, knowing that I was protected properly. And actually, like, being one of the founders of Financial and speaking about making sure that we look after ourselves. And I was just sat there going, I am paying more in like digital subscriptions than I am on my life insurance and critical illness cover.
Making
and
sure
so,
the kids are looked after.
like I said, that's why we partnered with LifeSearch. And if you go to financial.com/protection, you can click and get the number for our partner. You can have a free review. So this is what I did because I didn't need to take out new. I took out a new different thing, but I didn't change my life. I got assurance that actually what I'd done was correct because we'd done that top up one. I think they'd have said, "Oh God, you're well under protected."
If we'd have been on the original policy, I imagine they'd have gone, "Are you kidding?" Yeah, life is so expensive right now.
But we've obviously set up this partnership where we have female advisors. Yeah. So I spoke to an amazing female advisor who reviewed my policies, gave me the confirmation that you're in a great place. Yeah. Like you did it well, you did it young because my policies are quite cheap. But this is where there's a gap, and that's where I thought there was a gap, and so now kind of we're sorted. So you can ring for a free review, and I just shared my policies with them, and they're so good, and they walk you through it, and you don't. Like I said, I was paying less for policies than I was to like Netflix and Spotify and stuff, and I was like, are you kidding me? And again, it's because I got it younger. That was the thing. Like the younger you are, the cheaper it is. The older you get, or if a health condition comes up suddenly, you're not quite covered. But it all comes back to, and a lot of mortgage advisors do share this, that when your mortgage protection at the time that you take out the mortgage, but you're just excited about the house. Yeah. You want the keys and you want to move in, and you just like kind of the bare minimum, just sign me up for whatever.
Sort it out later.
Yeah, and I think a mortgage advisor is in a really tricky position because they're like, great, but it's not because it's a sales thing. It's because they want you to not have this house be a burden and life be a burden should the worst happen. So if you're in the process of buying a house, speak to your mortgage advisor properly and ask about extra protection. Don't just go, just do it for the mortgage.
Get it as part of your budget. Don't scrimp, because we've seen the fallout of that. But I love, like, people don't know you can do top ups. I didn't know that. I didn't know.
You can have loads of policies. You don't have to have the same provider. You can have multiple ones.
It can be more like you've got your policy now. It would be more expensive to go and cancel it. No one would do that.
But that's why the review is important, because someone who, like I said, someone who will look after you will look at it and go, that's fine. This is where you could be topping up. This is what you could do. You don't have to get rid of the old ones. You can have multiples. Well, I have 2 with 2 different providers. Now I've got 3 with 3 different providers. They're just bills. It's fine.
Yeah.
If you'd like to tell us your win, head to the community in the app or email it to thevault@financial.com. Okay. Buckle in is all I'm going to say. I've got a long one. Am I being pushed into the family business? Before I dive in, I want to acknowledge that I'm in a very privileged position and I'm incredibly grateful for it. I've always been quite independent and money conscious. I burnt through a lot of savings as a student, self-funded a master's degree, then took a lower paid job to get my foot in the door in a very competitive industry. That decision paid off. I worked hard, I'm slowly climbing the ladder in a very male-dominated field, and I now earn 55k plus pension plus benefits. My personal expenses are fairly minimal, and I've built up 40k in independent savings. We also have joint savings as a couple. I know I have lots of disposable income. Again, I'm very lucky. Here's where my dilemma starts, and I feel guilty for even calling it a dilemma. I got married 8 months ago to a farmer, and we've lived together for years in a farmhouse. Just before the property market changed, we nearly bought a buy-to-let, but were advised not to by a financial advisor. We're still unsure if that was a missed opportunity. I don't have a house in my name, and sometimes it bothers me. My husband is your classic farmer, frugal, hardworking, and completely focused on making the farm secure and profitable long term. He works 7 days a week. I work full-time too, but I don't get involved in the farm side of things. He works closely with his parents, and it's very too many cooks energy. Recently, his parents suggested I consider going part-time or dropping a day to help with the farm admin and bookkeeping, and free up time for my husband and I to spend together, since weekends don't really happen for us. At the moment, we rely on my annual leave to get proper time off as a couple. Their suggestion came from a kind place, and his mum is lovely. She worked part-time herself and values balance, but she's also made a comment that stuck with me. You don't really need a high-paying job now that you're married and the farm is financially secure. We're also starting to plan for a family, which is exciting but adds more complexity. If I stay full-time, I qualify for statutory maternity pay. I've got savings, but I want to make sure they're working hard for our future. We keep our salaries separate, but share a joint account for food, holidays, and savings. My husband earns around 25k from the farm plus a pension. We don't pay rent or utilities, which he doesn't always count as part of his financial contribution. He often says the farm covers that. And if we rented this house, it would be around £2,000 a month. I know he sometimes feels guilty, like he should be paying back the farm, especially since his siblings all have mortgages. So here's the heart of it. I feel like I'm being gently nudged into the family business, not by my husband directly, but more from the surrounding environment. And while he values our independence and encourages me to grow in my own career, he also sees the farm as a long-term investment, something we'd build for us and our future children. As someone who's always been fiercely independent, I now see marriage as a chance to truly join forces, but I'm struggling with how to balance that with my identity and financial autonomy. So my question is, how would you approach aligning financial goals as a couple when you have different income sources and mindsets? And how can I better use my savings to invest in our shared future without losing the independence I've worked so hard for? Any advice on life, maternity planning, or managing this transition would be so welcome.
Wow, what a dilemma.
lying.
Back in a film.
Yeah.
I am this is very visual.
Yeah.
I can
Where's
see
the
it
farm?
all.
Where is it?
Yeah, I
I'm
can see
picturing
it
an
all.
American farm, so this is what's...
It's like a ranch.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not even picturing a
Cowboys.
UK farm.
I'm Cotswolds, and her mother-in-law is in the WI, and she
Makes jam.
Yeah, and they have like a cake competition every year, and her mum wins. And they have a local pub,
She
and
has a mum's nice. The mother-in-law's nice.
Yeah.
and that's nice. Like, one thing I would say is, we as women are so apologetic for just like existing.
Oh,
and
she was
breathing
so guilty, wasn't
and
she?
Guilty. You definitely from a
privileged.
Catholic family, because we're all brought up to feel guilty
Original
just for
sin.
breathing air. Yeah, like we were born out of sin and all that jazz, which is bullshit.
And she recognises, like, I don't think it's a first world problem, but she's talking that she's...
You feel guilty that
she
you're in a
feels
good
guilty
place
that she's
financially.
successful,
No,
yeah.
you've worked
Well
hard,
done.
Yeah,
first of all.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
just like acknowledge that you weren't just like born into this career that you've developed. You self-funded a master's, which you'll have heard 20,000 dilemmas on this podcast about people being in incredible amounts of debt for pursuing a career that they want to be in. You have managed for however you've managed to do that in a financially well way. You've got a really good savings. You've just married. You're about to embark maybe family in the future. You're a part of a good family. Like they are first world problems, but you're allowed them. Like every dilemma is valid that comes on this podcast. We're all born into different, circumstances.
Family business thing is really technical, isn't it? There's like farm has an extra complexity, obviously, because there's land and property usually with it. But family businesses might be like a bakery or it might be a restaurant, and there's so many different dynamics. There's siblings. How is it navigated? Some people are siblings who are like, I am not a farmer. Keep me out of it. I'm fine. You all do you. Great.
Sounds like the siblings aren't involved, doesn't it? Because they've talked about, they've got
mortgages and
they've got something. Mention the siblings as part of that.
Well, and presumably it was because they don't contribute towards the farm, so they're like fine. And then you've got slackers and non-slackers. So there's some family businesses where we all work in the business. Some people
do we
work? Are we freeloaders? Freeloaders? Freeloaders is that the term?
Freeloading.
Yeah, where you
coattails of you hang on the coattails of the family business.
One person's doing more of the work, some other person's taking advantage of it, and that you see that a lot in family businesses. And the thing for the family business where she wants to plan for a family, and that makes sense. And so for anyone doing this, whether it's family business or not, it's doing what you're doing, which is build up your savings as best as possible, build that up potential maternity, fertility, whatever budget that you are going to need for this journey. Thinking about childcare. So like basically it costs an awful lot of money, as we keep talking about, like to prep when you don't have as much help. And I can't imagine what it's like having like a husband who is such a relentless job farming. Like I'm just always
is it a vocation?
It must be.
It's not a job. Like
it's a calling. Like you're
born into it.
Yeah. You're born into it.
There's a lot of guilt. You might not even want to do it, but the parent you feel obliged because you know how hard farming is, especially if you watch Clarkson's Farm, which you referenced at the beginning. It's an emotional turmoil. Like it's stressful.
Yeah, it's very hard,
and it's an honor as well in a way.
Yeah, and it sounds like to manage childcare around farm, pluses and minuses. Like you're at home all the time and you're available, but work needs to be done. What I'm struggling with is isn't it about time you go part-time and do a little bit of bookkeeping? And if you want to and hate your job, you sound like you love your job. She's like worked really hard
passionate
and she's built up a pension. And again, as a family, they're diversifying their income streams because what if farming doesn't work out? Like this, it sounds incredibly tough. The industry's changing all the time. Regulations changing all the time. Tax rules are changing all the time, which is something in the press a lot. There's so many difficulties around that. Whereas actually, imagine if we got income from here, but we also had this income. And so if one didn't work out, or if something happened in the family and suddenly you're not farmers anymore, you've not gone. That's all we do.
It's a really big positive. I hadn't thought about it like that. That they've got diversified income, and if they put all their eggs into one basket,
your face then.
Oh, it's to God. When it clicks,
eggs, you're like, love it.
All their eggs in one basket. Like you're right. It's high risk.
Yeah, it is high risk, and to then suddenly help out a little bit again. What would that be for? Would it be for a salary? What salary would that be? Would it be commensurate? No, because it's going to be one part-time probably. And if your partner's on 25k and then, all rent included, what's her salary going to be?
Those benefits are already there.
She's bringing home 55. Like, what are they going to be able to do? So that's one element to it, which is like protecting yourself and mitigating risk. And I think it would be better to navigate a part-time or flexible role in the field you're in and still keep things separate, because like it doesn't sound like do a little bit of bookkeeping, or they can get a bookkeeper in for that, or they can do it themselves. Like
about the
software,
farm being profitable. So I would be like, so they're not struggling financially in the farm.
It's not that they need her; it's that they think it's a nice thing.
To give her, she was kind of positioned like you'd be doing your husband a favour because he works 7 days a week and you don't get any weekends together, and that's fine. And I appreciate that in this day and age, no one should be working 7 days a week on a farm.
But they'll be bringing less money in to do it.
By her cutting a 55k salary, he only gets paid 25, and I say he only because that's not reflective of the work that he puts in.
True.
He gets the free accommodation, you get that anyway. By you leaving your job, you're not gaining anything. You're actually going to lose out massively financially as a couple.
Yeah.
And you putting that across to your mother-in-law, that you could like go, oh, look, you shouldn't even have to do this anyway, by the way. His siblings sound like they don't want anything to do with the farm. You're allowed that right as well. Just because you're married to him, you didn't marry his career, you married him.
No, and then the last point for me that's really, really critical is ownership in the farm. So if you're in a family business, there's the inheritance thing was massive because it's about changing like the tax rules and stuff. And it's really hard for like a certain size of farm to, I mean, you get inheritance tax allowances, but it can't pass easily without tax being due, and there's not always cash available.
Yeah.
Like it's a farm. So whilst there's like an asset, it's a liquid asset, it's the land and it's the animals, it's the machinery and it's the houses. But if your husband works in the family business, does he have a stake in the family business? Because often family don't. It's, oh, one day this will be yours. Well, will it be mine, or will it be mine and my siblings? And you know, what's the plan? Because I think there's more of an incentive for you to help and for your husband to continue helping if there's a stake, if there's shares in the business. So where is the upside to this working on the farm as well? And I think that's really difficult to navigate.
Yeah, I don't mean to be like jump into this, but you've been married 8 months, so I'm not talking. We've talked about divorce so much on this kind of the last few. But imagine giving up your career that you've built so hard to do and all your savings and this, that and the other, and you go and work on this family farm. For whatever reason, in 10 years, 20 years down the line, you get divorced. What are you going to walk away with? Because we've just talked about the fact that even staying in a happy marriage and inheritance, someone passing away, which 100% will happen, it's the only sure thing in life, how difficult that is. Imagine for whatever reason, the marriage doesn't work out. What are you going to walk away with? You've left your career. You've stopped paying into your company's pension. You've not got the savings, whatever it might be. Yeah.
Or
just put it out there.
And like I said, so he at the moment they have no house asset, so they didn't buy buy-to-let. Fine, financial advisor advised that. So they didn't buy buy-to-let. They don't have a house because they live rent-free. Again, great, but you should be building, like, at least if you've got a house, you're paying a mortgage and building up ownership in an asset. You're getting great rent, a rent-free,
which is a plus in another way.
But you're not building up an asset. So you've got a pension. Does your husband have a pension? Is the farm the pension? Because the number of dilemmas we've had where something's been promised and this will happen, you know, what happens if the parents get divorced and the farm gets sold? And if he didn't have any assets in it, your husband's without it as well. Does your husband have a pension? Is he investing for his future?
He had a pension, but she might refer to it as, she said, my husband's on 25k and he pays into a pension.
Yeah.
So hopefully he does. But then that's not a big contribution. She's a higher earner. Yeah. He's getting a lower income because of this housing benefit,
which
presumably.
is fine.
But then what? And so I think it's okay to have these conversations which are, okay, what would that look like? So is this that we are going to build up ownership in this asset? Will I have, you know, what happens if they make a random decision that makes it not profitable from this? Well, exactly.
And she's given up her career. I think it's really fair to say, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't have a passion to be.
Or if I do, because she doesn't say she wouldn't have a passion. She just
I get the vibe.
Yeah,
she's a career girly. Like, she doesn't want to be a farmer.
I'm sure it would also impact maternity leave.
Yeah.
She's goes down to part-time.
Well, yeah, and that's for, it's hard because she's conflicted between, like, maternity leave at least is a short-term thing. Like, this could be something like this, a forever decision. And if it is for her at some point,
which it might be,
there should be a lot of questions around, not just, oh, you could be around a lot, you could work less. No, they're not. There are a little bit of upsells, but
it might not.
Sounds like it's going to be hard work. Like,
yeah,
it sounds to me like it would be hard work. It's not the life for me. I applaud anyone that does do it because it's relentless.
Yeah.
And so, same if it was like a bakery business or a coffee shop or a restaurant that's been open late and open early, and someone's ringing sick.
Service-based business, like, it's on the person. You have to be present. Like, Neil wants to open a coffee shop. He goes on about it all the time.
He does.
Doesn't everybody, Neil?
No, he's not allowed.
Not me, because I don't like coffee. It would be a waste on me. I might be a really good coffee owner for that, because I don't. But I'm like, Laura's always like, but you have to be there, Neil. Like, it's all well and good. Like, you want the they're like, oh, let's do the branding and buying the coffee and having the regulars and all that stuff. No, like if stuff goes wrong, you have to be there. You physically have to be there. And at the moment in your job, you don't physically have to be at your job every day. You can work remotely and we've got the balance and flexibility. That goes out the window when you take on a business like that.
And I do say this to people that are in family businesses that work really, really hard for the family business. There's two things to consider here. One is that you've got a really good job. So you've got a job that you'd have it anywhere else anyway. So you might as well work in the family business with your family. You make sure that, again, you do pension contributions. You make sure that you paid fairly for it. You make sure that you buy a home and build up an asset base. And so that's fine. It's like you could have had a job anywhere. You might as well have it there. But if you are over-delivering and underpaid for what you do, where's the conversation about ownership in that family business? Especially if there are other siblings elsewhere that might sit there and go, oh, at one stage, they'll sell the business.
They've not done anything.
They didn't slog. They were fine. They didn't have to get up in the morning. They didn't go late.
See that, whereas those siblings are like, oh, they have it easy because they work for dad. You're like, oh, they work for mum.
It's a hard.
Like, they think, oh, there's two types of people that work in family businesses, like Laura said. Ones that like take the foot off the gas because they're like, I'm always going to get paid. I'm never gonna have a performance review. Like I can log off on a Friday and no one would know where I am and it doesn't really matter.
And you got the
then
slugger
you've got the ones that
carries it.
That the dad or the mum, you can just imagine the conversations where they want to go like, oh, what are we going to do in the future? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it, you'll get looked after. It's like, no, they're going to get looked after too. And they've not worked a day in this business.
And imagine if like you were the sibling that helped to transform the business. Like you brought a new innovation.
Leveled up.
You opened up a new cafe on the family farm and suddenly that's making money.
The income.
You exactly. You were savvy with it. You helped provide growth.
You commercialized
it, but you're not getting the benefits for it. And I think that you can do like employee share plans. You can you might want to buy into a bit of the business. Say, I want to co-own this with you. Don't be afraid to have those conversations because again, you have to think about, is this a job and am I paid fairly for it? And everyone's of the understanding that whilst I am contributing to the growth, I could be pretend I'm not a family member. I'm just an employee. Another employee wouldn't be entitled to part of the business, so that's fine. If you're not paid fairly for it, and if you are taken advantage of in a healthy way, which is like, we've got to keep it going.
Just because it's family, you're allowed to question the setup. Like
I think especially
causing
because of that
conflict. Yeah,
like
you're not doing a favor.
That would be such a change of relationships as well. Like starting to work with not only your husband, his whole family.
We've seen people that work for their parents go and set up on their own because they're like they can't deal with the fact that they're not getting paid fairly and have commercialized it and they've grown it and they've just gone, do you know what, instead of the conflict, I'm going to go out and do my own thing, and arguably it's then stop the conflict because they then go and work somewhere else and it's absolutely fine. You're allowed to do that too. But don't be taking the mick out of. No,
I think for him, he definitely and they've obviously spoken to a financial advisor before. This, it's not a good thing. They would think about this as well. They would be thinking about, okay, what's your asset base? Do you have anything like other than a pension? Like, do you have anything? What is your plan to mitigate for that? And having a conversation about like, what is the plan with this? Because there are siblings involved. If I continue to be the farmer of the family and others aren't, what's the upside of that? Because it's just not an easy life. It doesn't sound like he's got a great deal. He's got an okay deal. But where could it lead? And for her, only if you really want to.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
that you do.
Stay in your lane and explore flexibility and part-time. It's not the answer to spending more time with your husband is not you helping with the business. Yeah. The business needs to free up your husband. So it's a profitable farm, like Holly said.
So go and look for a bookkeeper.
Or like what they think, what could be taken off him because he's working like he's not got as much free time. It's like, I don't know, there's a bit of boy mum in this when
you have to be firm.
Mother-in-law's like, oh, he's working so hard and you would be able to spend more time together if you helped.
Don't want to spend more time with him.
This arrangement works. I would literally thought that. She sounds like the arrangement's working very well for her, so don't rock the boat, like just carry on. But I don't like the fact that it sounds like the siblings aren't involved. If they're not allowed to be involved, you are 100% allowed to be like it's not for them, it's not for me. I've got my own career and I'm happy with that. And just like nip it in the bud straight away. You don't want those comments coming in. And when I'm on maternity leave, I got a really good, maternity pay with work and I'll be here and it'll be nice. But then I'll be going back to work. Yeah, with the baby strapped to me. but I'll be going back to work. You're allowed.
You're allowed.
Yeah.
Okay, that is all for this episode. The vault is now closed. And just a quick disclaimer, the vault is just a chat around life and money topics. We are not giving financial advice.